Welcome to Boston Bros Political Show. I'm Jim Campini, co-host with Boston Herald political columnist Peter Lucas. Peter, how you doing today?
We're doing fine.
Yeah.
We're here. Stopped raining for about 5 minutes.
Oh man, I tell you, I know we needed the rain. My grass is greening up, it's just every day it's like dismal. That same slate gray sky and the rain and. It's even snowflakes coming down this past weekend.
Jim, we're hardy New Englanders.
Hardy New Englanders.
We can put up with it.
Yeah. Are our politics hardy?
No, our politics are a disaster.
Yeah. Well, we can get into that. First of all, let me clear the books here for our sponsor. This InsideLowell podcast is coming to you from the WellPoint Studios. WellPoint, the only health plan offering healthcare benefits exclusively to Massachusetts GIC members. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. Okay, very good. Well, a lot's been going on this past week. My lead is tariff turmoil versus tariff triumph. Should we trust in Trump, or is this thing a disaster?
Well, so far things seem to be going his way. At the last count, some 50 countries have called in seeking meetings with the Trump administration to iron out this tariff situation. And that's a plus for Trump. He's calling the shots. He holds all the cards. And countries are coming to him looking for a deal. I'd say that's a plus.
Do you think that he can get this done within a certain amount of time? That things will return back to at least the markets will stabilize. It's just amazing to me how Americans don't have any patience anymore for anything.
Well, they're going to have patience. I figure this. I look at it this way: Trump has a window of 2 years to get everything done. After that, he'll probably be what we call a lame duck, and you'll have a congressional an election before that. So I think he's time limited, and that's why he's moving so fast to get everything done within 2 years. And I got to say, he's off to a remarkable start. Whether you like him or not, he's made a big difference not only in this country but around the world.
Oh yeah, he's created. He is the disruptor. And he's opening eyes all across the world to some unfairness. And what gets me about these progressives, they know the words inequity and inequality. And here's what Trump is showing them right in charts. It's been reported in major newspapers, on TV. What we were paying in tariffs, Americans couldn't even sell their goods and stuff. I mean, what was more clear than this, that something was wrong? So it took 40 years to create a $37 trillion federal deficit. And Americans think it's going to be solved overnight. They got no patience for anything. And that's what's disturbing. When you know there's a problem, here's a guy who's willing to tackle it. And yet Democrats and even some Republicans now, weak need. You
mentioned the word disruptions. I recall only recently, a couple of years ago, that the people in Massachusetts running for Congress, like Laurie Trehane, for instance, were campaigning on being disruptors. I'm going to Washington to disrupt things. The only disruptor around is Donald Trump.
Yeah.
All the Democrats are in a mood of everything as Trump does, they're opposed.
Do you think he will hold that? I mean, it was great to see that the spending bill, the procedural vote, passed in the Senate, which was big. Okay, but you've got 6 to 8 senators now, Republicans, led by Rand Paul, who says just on principle they're against tariffs. But I say, you're against tariffs, yeah, by principle. But have you ever been against tariffs when it's part of a solution to a bigger problem? And he's the biggest deficit hawk,
right,
in Congress. And you would think that he would see the practicality of some of this plan and talk to Trump about it.
I think they will come around as they see tariff plan working. And so far, the indications are it is working.
Yeah.
And as I said, Trump is calling the cards. He holds all the cards.
Well, let's face it. The market crashes like it did, and of course, I'm retired. I've got IRAs and pension plans and stuff. My wife gets a little skittish, but after the first 2 days, I mean, it's like we've been through this before.
It'll come back. It always comes back. It'll come back this time too. I don't think there's anything to worry about.
I don't know one person in Massachusetts, a friend of a friend, or a son and daughter of a father. I know a lot of people in Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Connecticut. No one has lost their job, and no one has lost their government job. So where is all this talk coming from?
It comes from the Democrats. It's a party of fear and smear and gloom and doom.
Yeah.
That's about all they got going for them.
Hey, if you're out there watching and you know someone who's lost their job, okay, and don't gaslight me, all right? Send me a note. Send me their name and what did they do? I want to know what did they do for a job. But I haven't heard anyone that's been fired except former NSA chiefs and deputy chiefs in the administration were probably leaking material, confidential material to the press. But so that's going to be interesting. Who do you think is winning the messaging battle on this? Is Trump, because he's got every voice in the media, the liberal media, against him.
That's why I say he's got a time limit to get everything done, because the media and the Democrats have ginned up such opposition that it's amazing. Look at the demonstrations this past weekend. Practically every city in the country had anti-Trump demonstrators.
But notice they were in blue states.
Well, they were in blue states, and but what fascinated me, they weren't opposed to anything in particular. They were opposed to everything that Trump was doing. I was watching the demonstrators, and I was saying to myself, look, don't they have jobs? Maybe if Trump brings all these jobs back to the country, these millions of jobs that are going overseas, these people will have jobs.
Yeah.
They won't have time to demonstrate.
Yeah. Well, what gets me is, they're going after Elon Musk, all right, and say he was to pull up stakes, one of the real geniuses of the 21st century. I mean, people equate him with 𝐉𝐢𝐦 and for the stuff that the brilliance of his mind, SpaceX, Tesla, I mean, everything. What if he was to pull up stakes and say, you know what? I'm moving everything to Moscow.
Or back to South Africa.
Okay? He'd be a national security problem with all the stuff that he's done because the technology and the experience he has and his staff and that he's cultivated and hired and good wages and stuff. You think they'd stop protesting or say, "Oh, you can't let Musk leave. You can't let Musk leave," and yet people want to take pot shots at him, get rid of him. And
if Elon Musk did not come out in support of Trump and had the Doge movement to deal with fraud, waste, and abuse in this country, and remained apolitical, he'd be up for the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah, I agree with you.
He was a hero of the Democrats when he made these electric cars that everybody seems to want. And suddenly he's a villain now because he supports Trump.
Yeah. It's an amazing story, and I just can't understand it. But you know what I do like about the protests, though? It seems like they're going back to homemade signs. I like when they make their homemade signs and there's misspellings in them and stuff. But, they show their creativity. And you know what? Hey, these people, I'll give them the thing that, a lot of them are dedicated because George Soros, I don't think, would buy a sign that had misspellings in it. So these people are great Democrats, I imagine. Maybe they need some remedial English or education, but you know what? I hope they continued because it just shows that they are dedicated to their cause and stuff. That they can make a homemade sign and everything, but they should brush up on their English. Yeah.
Well, there wouldn't be any demonstrations if it wasn't with George Soros.
Yeah, that's probably true. So the other interesting thing besides these rallies and the tariff turmoil and stuff was that one major union leader, labor leader from Boston,
Charlestown.
Charlestown. Okay. Well, you can take it away from there. I mean, he came out and supported the tariffs and everything that Trump was saying. We're going to bring jobs back to America, manufacturing, good wages.
Well, Sean O'Brien is an outspoken guy, and he speaks his mind, and he speaks for his union. And his union, the Teamsters, support him. He did a poll right before he spoke at the Republican National Convention, and over 60% of the Teamsters supported his position and supported him supporting Trump,
Yeah.
which says an awful lot.
Well, no, is he a Republican or non-party?
I don't know if he's a registered Republican or a Democrat, but let me tell you something. The way he talks, if he ran for governor in Massachusetts, particularly as a Democrat, he'd be a candidate to watch out for.
Oh, Peter, that's amazing.
He speaks for a lot of people. And not only he speaks for a lot of people, he speaks for a lot of Democrats who think the same way he does. He's a practical thinker. He wants jobs for Americans.
Right.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah, yeah. And I think, we saw in this past election how Trump and the Republican Party really made major inroads with the unions. A lot of them, endorsed or for the first time sat on the sidelines because they're heavily in favor of Democrat candidates. But I guess they decided, well, they didn't want to rock the boat, so they stayed neutral where they favored Trump, and they were going to break from the Democrat Party. So it just seems like the Republicans are speaking more and more to the working class. And that's got to be a problem for Lori Trahan, Ed Markey, and the other Democrat incumbents in this state who seem to monopolize everything.
Well, Trump and the Republicans are talking about basic issues. And what's more basic than having a job? And they're going to bring back millions of jobs back to this country that have been sent overseas for the past 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
And he's going to bring back industry and the jobs that go along with it. And this is what the working person is interested in. If you don't have a job in this country, I mean, you're nothing. Your job is your life for many, many people. And he's bringing these jobs back, and that's why he's popular. That's why Sean O'Brien the Teamster guy is popular.
Yeah, I read one column in the Boston Globe, saying, "Oh well, even if Trump is successful, these manufacturing plants are just not going to spring up overnight. It's going to take years getting all the permits and this and that." So they don't want the guy to have a success. I mean, someone's got to start somewhere. He's the only president with the courage to do something like this, and I hope he pulls it off. But it's amazing that already they start looking into the future and what do they want? I mean, yeah, you have to start somewhere, but they're saying, oh, it's going to take time. And he was probably talking about Massachusetts with all the permits, because most of the places across the country, especially in red states, they'll expedite all the variants.
Well, he's not going to build any factories in Massachusetts.
I know. Well,
that's for sure.
But they don't give the guy a break.
No.
They don't,
The media is disgraceful.
It's just...
Let's face it.
It's just,
how many years have you and I been in the media? 100 years between us?
Yeah, I would say so,
right?
yeah.
And I've never seen anything as bad as the mainstream media is these days.
The fear-mongering in the headlines, and then you read the story. There's hardly no substance and all speculation.
Fear and gloom and doom.
It's amazing. I used to tell my reporters, yeah, you got to get both sides, okay, of the argument or the subject or whatever. And it seems like, the liberal media always knows how to find people who are going to say the right things for their stories. And then in the last paragraph of the story, there's usually a countervailing quote or something from some organization that you've never heard about before. But it's crazy. But I think that Teamsters president Sean O'Brien running for governor, that would be something. That would really shake things up in Massachusetts.
Yes,
what a primary, huh?
Well, I've always maintained that the threat to Governor Healy being reelected is not from Republicans. It would be from a Democrat in a primary, because there are a lot of Democrats who are concerned about her leadership and the immigration situation and so on. And moderate conservative Democrat like Sean Healy, who is outspoken and has a unique view in the world, in that he believes that basically a man with a job is a very happy man.
Yeah.
And I think he'd give her a run for the money.
Yeah. No, that'd be tremendous. What do you think the odds of something like that ever happening?
Well, right now we're remote,
Yeah.
but we'll get it going.
We'll get it going. We started it right here. All right, it'll take off like wildfire, okay? But, yeah, so leading right into that with the gubernatorial race, we do have a Republican candidate that has come out running for, and he has some experience.
Yeah, Mike Keneally, he was a cabinet member in Governor Charlie Baker's administration, and he's announced already. He's not held high office before, elected office. This is his first time running. And I think he's going to face a dilemma that other Republican candidates are going to face, and that is what to do with Donald Trump. If you're going to run for governor of Massachusetts, Trump is going to be the main issue if you're a Republican. And the Democrats already have tried to tie him, Keneally, to Donald Trump, and he is sort of not made up his mind whether he's a Trump candidate or not. He's been critical of Trump, and he's not voted for him, but I think he's trying to keep Trump at arm's length.
Yeah. Boy, Steve Kerrigan, for the head of the Democratic Party in the state, he's got the best job in the world. He just sits back, criticizes Republican candidates try to run. I mean, no Republicans is broken through on a lot of things. I remember I met Steve. Did he ran for? I think he ran for Congress.
He ran for lieutenant governor, and he ran for Congress.
Nice enough guy, but
guy.
He got that job, and that's a job like you got it for life, because who's going to lose? All right, among in the congressional delegation, if you're a Democrat, they control everything in the state. But it's amazing how he came out. I saw when Keneally announced, he came right out and announced that he's going to have a tough job, distancing himself from Donald Trump. He's a Donald Trump supporter, which I don't care if he is or not, but he worked in the Baker administration. Baker was the biggest anti-Trump Republican in the state, right?
Yes, he was.
So I didn't see any allegiances from Keneally, but yeah, if it's amazing how Kerrigan just rides a bicycle in that job. I mean, what else does he have to do?
Well, he does a press release once in a while.
Yeah, but I mean, he's got the same group all the time, and just I guess he takes credit for all everybody in the Massachusetts congressional delegation, all Republicans. Every time they win, he takes credit for it.
Look, I think this. I think it's a mistake for the Republicans candidates running for governor to turn their back on Trump, and I'll tell you why. By the time the next election comes around, Trump may have pulled off the greatest coup the country has developed in many, many years. And I'm talking about the tariff situation. If he pulls this off and starts bringing these jobs and factories back to this country, he's going to be a hero. Not that the media will give him credit, but I think the people will understand. And to criticize Trump, if he's on the path to success, I think is a mistake for a local candidate.
Yeah. Do you know of anyone, I know you follow this a lot more closely than I do, but do you know of anyone from Massachusetts who has received a high-level job in Trump's government? I mean, does Mass have any connection to the administration or anybody who can advocate for us?
At this point in time, no. And I think the Republicans in Washington, Trump administration is totally ignoring Massachusetts. I don't know if you recall or not, but a week or so ago, he appointed a Republican from New Hampshire to be regional director of the Environmental Protection Agency. A fellow Mark Sanborn was his name.
Sanborn, yeah.
Sanborn. And He ignored everybody in Massachusetts, including Jeff Deal, who I think was a candidate for that job. And there is no Trump person per se in Massachusetts in any position of authority.
Now, I know Corey Lewandowski, who worked in the first Trump administration, remains a close advisor to the Trump administration. Well, at least he has a good relationship with the president. He's originally from Massachusetts.
He's from Lowell.
Yes, he's from Lowell. But I mean, is he still held in high esteem in the Trump administration? Do you know?
Yeah, he's held in high esteem, but he's on to bigger and better things. Massachusetts now is, in this administration, in this era, is small potatoes. It doesn't count for anything. We have nobody in our congressional delegation that has a remotely working relationship with the Trump administration.
Yeah.
Neither of our senators do. None of the congressional people do. The governor doesn't have. And all they have is criticism of Trump.
Yeah.
That can only go so far.
Well,
particularly if you're looking for federal funds to build a couple of bridges down the Cape Cod, for instance.
Yeah, those days of Tip O'Neill and Ted Kennedy, working, burning the midnight oil behind the scenes with Republican presidents,
With Ronald Reagan,
administrations. Yeah, those days are gone. And these people, like, they won't even be seen. It's like they don't even want to be seen in the same room with Trump. Could you imagine being in Congress in Washington, and if the president says, "Gee, I'd like to meet with you," which will never happen, to Elizabeth Warren, but maybe she should be reaching out, or Ed Markey reaching out.
Instead they call him.
Let's put an end to this. Let's start over from zero. Let's work this thing out, or try to.
They call him a Nazi. They call him a fascist. I mean, how can you possibly deal with a person and you're calling him a Nazi?
Yeah, no, it's a terrible environment, even to be in Washington, and no doubt about it. Whether you like them or not, they're all smart people, but they talk about compromise, and I guess they talk, but they don't do the walk, and it's always the other side. They're pointing fingers, and that's the trouble with American politics right now. And I think that's why Donald Trump is saying, "Hey, I'm going to do this if I have to do it with just, we hope the Democrats come along, but the Republicans are going to have to be stout about this, and let's fix a lot of the problems that have persisted for decades." And I think that's what he's trying to do. So I got to watch it right now and see how things go.
You got to give him credit. He works at the job.
Yeah.
I've never seen a politician work at his job the way Trump works at his job.
Yeah.
And he deals with the press in a remarkable way. He answers more questions in a day than poor Joe Biden did in a month.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, now the new books coming out, isn't this hypocritical? These reporters writing books about what was really taking place behind the Biden administration with Joe Biden's declining health. They're writing these books now when people were talking about this, especially from the other side, Republicans, about Biden not being up for the job, and they're revealing all these secrets, details that were talked about and were rumors, and they suppressed. Some of these same writers suppressed these things, and now they're coming out that Joe Biden wasn't fit for the job. And
not only that, they were in Joe Biden's presence. They could see him physically, up close and personal. They knew he wasn't up to the job. They knew he had mental and physical problems, and they did cover up for him.
Yeah,
because they were afraid of repercussions. They wouldn't be denied. They'd be denied access and so on and so forth. But they failed in doing their job. They did it on purpose. They failed on purpose. They chose not to do their job. They chose to cover up. And now it's disgraceful that they're trying to make money on these books, which I won't even buy, let alone read, or read, let alone buy.
Well, not only did the Biden staff deceive America, okay, but the press went along, and that is not only ethically and morally wrong, but they put America in a dangerous situation. Our entire government. They like to point the finger at Trump, but Trump has never damaged or done anything to violate America's integrity. It was Joe Biden who's responsible for Abbey Gate, 13 service members dying in the withdrawal of Afghanistan, and then another 1,500 Afghanis who were helping us. Dead, or no one knows what happened to them because they couldn't get out in time in that terrible tragedy of a withdrawal. Who made those decisions? Who was making those decisions? It's interesting that the Republicans now in Congress are going to look into an investigation, and they're calling in Biden's physician, Kevin O'Connor.
Right.
They want to speak to him. And what did he know?
Well,
is this going to go anyplace?
I think so, because who made the decision to open the borders? I mean, a basic decision like that. When they
keep them open.
When they were saying the borders are closed, they kept repeating the borders are closed, the borders are secure. Remember Mayorkas?
Yes. Yeah.
Every week the borders are secure, and millions of people are coming in, including violent criminals. Who opened the borders? Did Joe know? Did Biden know they were open?
Well,
did he make that decision?
Even when you saw the chaotic scenes of our Border Patrol men and women being overwhelmed, overrun, and getting into fights and stuff, trying to control their herd that kept coming over the border and everything else. I mean, no one stopped it. No one cared about their own American people.
Jim, they didn't even care when the Chinese balloon was flying across the country, gathering intelligence.
Yeah.
They let it fly over for a week. And after it completed its mission, it's over in the Atlantic Ocean, they shut it down. I mean, who made that decision?
Yeah.
There's so many things like that that have been unanswered. And hopefully we'll get some answers.
Yeah. Well, it's really something, a lot's going on. We're going to have to watch closely. But you know what? I still wake up in the morning. The sky is up there, and I hope there was some sun in the sky. But you know what? I'm going to ride it out and just watch how this opens. I think it's a great idea. The tariffs and more, like you said, more and more countries are coming to the table because they're starting to hurt too, and they realize, hey, we have been exploiting America for a very long time, and we have to work this out together. So hopefully that will happen. Hey, a story that was in the Herald this morning. I love this chart. I mean, I don't know if the people can see it, about all the leadership, Democrats, and even the Republican leaders making these huge salaries. Okay. And it's the headline is, these Massachusetts lawmakers made bank, and it took their salaries over 2 years, the 2-year total, because that's when the legislative session runs. It's usually a 2-year session. Okay.
Yeah, but everything could have been done in 2 weeks.
I know. Well, they meet for 22 minutes a week and stuff, but unbelievably sized. I mean, could you imagine what was legislators making when you first started covering the state house?
$5,000.
5,000. How long ago was that? It was
45 years ago.
45 years ago. Yeah. Okay, $5,000. Well,
and it was a part-time job.
Yeah. Well,
it's still a part-time job.
It's amazing. I'd like to know when they started getting stipends, because here we got the 250th.
They started
50th
getting
anniversary. Let me finish. Of Lexington Concord, and is coming up, and I don't think those early patriots who served in the original government for a long time took any money, okay, in their jobs. And here's these people, okay, the lowest paid over 2 years made $338,000. Now, these guys, that's supposed to be a full-time job. We all know that. It's a part-time job, because they all have most of them have full-time jobs. They're either insurance, lawyers, whatever. And so could you imagine putting in your pocket $338,000 for a part-time job over 2 years. Now, the highest paid in the Senate was Karen Spilka. She's the Senate president. $406,000 in a public servant role. Oh, man. God bless them, Peter.
Well, they've been able to do it this way because years ago, whenever the pay raise situation came up, the legislature had to vote for it. And every legislator was on record voting for or against the pay raise. Then over the years, they've changed the law that they no longer have to vote for their salary increases, okay? They're like automatic with this cost of living. But however, the stipends is something new. And that's not written in any law. Because if the chairman of the Senate president or the Speaker of the House can appoint a member to a committee and give him a stipend of $40,000 or $50,000 extra for being a chairman of a committee. That's how the salaries have gotten so big.
Yeah.
See, and if you're a friend of the Senate president, you may be a chairman of 2 committees. They may not meet, but you're the chairman of 2, and you're getting 2 stipends.
Well, it was interesting this past week that the Senate President Spilka, she created a new committee, and she named Senator Cindy Cream, to be the head of it, which means that she's now going to get another stipend on top of her stipend and raise her salary over the $392,000. That was a 2-year total that she's already made. So she's going to probably go over $400,000 in salary over a 2-year period.
And it's
amazing.
The interesting thing is this new committee that was appointed is a committee to stand up to Donald Trump.
That's right. It's a committee to stand up to Donald Trump. Oh, man, what a joke.
A committee to stand up to Trump and fight his move to fight waste, fraud, and abuse in government.
Yeah. So I guess the legislature, the Massachusetts legislature,
Can't make this
is
stuff
for
up.
fraud,
Right.
waste, and corruption in federal government.
Can't make this
and
stuff up.
efficiency. No, it's amazing. I just don't. And I think when the people look at this stuff, they realize just it's a joke when you come down to it. It really is. It's just
the joke is on us, though.
The joke is on, yeah. So it's just too bad, and I think Massachusetts might be on a cusp here, because if this continues, eventually people are going to wake up and realize that there's got to be some change. There's got to be some change. Everybody just thinks the same and does the same, and it's got to end. And I think that's why Trump was elected. But the other thing is, you need good candidates, Peter. You need good candidates. I don't think anybody wants to run anymore.
Well, it's a tough business to begin with. But you mentioned the Democrats being opposed to everything Trump does. If you paid attention to the rallies over the last weekend, the anti-Trump rallies, you got to conclude that they were opposed to Trump closing the borders. They were opposed to deporting illegal immigrants back to the country they came from. They were opposed to cutting waste, fraud, and abuse. They were opposed to banning men. They were for men playing in women's sports, and so on. I mean, these are the issues of common sense to tell you where you should stand on it, and that's why they're in such trouble. Well, they're on the wrong side of everything.
Yeah. Last week's show, we talked about the fencing championships, where the woman took a knee going against a transgender the rival in one of the competitions, and a lot of the media attacked the woman who took the knee. She didn't want to compete, and instead of showing how ridiculous this situation was, that this woman worked so hard. She was 31 years old. She had been a lifelong fencer and stuff. And she says, "Hey, I didn't take up fencing for this to go up against this." But we should have maybe a trans segment every week, because now it comes out that there was a billiards pool championship in the United Kingdom, and there was a women's championship, and who reaches the finals?
Two guys. Two guys posing as women.
Oh man, and
It's the one that someone did hit somebody over the head with a pool stick.
I mean, it was just so glaring to see this, and I don't know where we're headed and stuff.
We're headed this way. No, the left wouldn't be happy until that fencer got stabbed by the guy with the sword.
No, but you know, one commentator correctly said, he says, "Hey, we just got done with the women's basketball NCAA basketball championships, and you know where UConn won their 12th NCAA championship. They blew out South Carolina." But he says, "What would happen if there were men on that court?" You know, playing for South Carolina or Connecticut. You're taking spots from women away from the game. And it's only a matter of time before this happens if they continue down this path and stuff. And the infiltration of transgender, you know, men in these sports, unless there's a wall put up. But I can't understand why more women aren't supporting the protection of their daughters.
It's amazing the women's movement has ignored this issue. Utterly amazing.
Yeah.
One of these days, one of these women are going to get killed by a man in one of these sports, and then there's going to be hell to pay.
Yeah. Well, maybe our Congresswoman from Lowell, Lori Johan, will be the leader in this, but I'm not counting on it. So one article that really caught my eye this week was a column by Ricky Schlott in the New York Post, and it was about how Harvard College, the Harvard, okay, has realized that it's got a real big problem with its freshmen coming in who need remedial education in math. Now, they found what the problem was. Harvard was one of the first schools, okay, who did away with SATs and the ACTs. Those were the aptitude tests that basically, you took the exams and they went into the admissions process, and you could see how it was an indicator for how people might students might achieve in college. Well, when certain Harvard professors and other education leaders called the exams racist, okay, the exams were racist, okay, they did away with it. So now, fast forward several years, now Harvard realizes it's got a problem because a lot of last year they took in 1,600 freshmen. They had 54,000 applicants, okay? And of those students, a vast majority of them failed their basic math courses in algebra and geometry. Harvard, okay? These are the scientists, the engineers. So, and then they tracked it back to, well, we let in a lot of people what don't even know, and if they could add 2 + 2, all right?
Yeah.
They could probably make signs for protests and demonstrations.
And spell them right. Maybe.
But they couldn't add. So now Harvard, okay, they are bringing back the SATs. They're no longer racist for some reason, okay? But they're bringing the tests back in 2031. So the next few classes are going to be exempt, but they're going to keep a sharper eye out, I think.
I don't know what a college degree is worth these days anyway. Let me tell you something. I spent 4 years at Boston University. I look back on it, I could have done it in 1 year. All I needed was somebody to tell me to read these 20 books, and that would be it. And my son went to Boston University, too. And I'll tell you this, I learned more in Somerville High School than I did in college.
Yeah. Well, I learned more
and it's gotten worse.
I studied journalism in college, and it was amazing. I learned more in my 2 weeks doing an internship on a weekly newspaper with a crusty editor, Jerry Goldstein, who went on to work and had a great career at the Providence Journal. And then, 2 weeks on the job, and then I later volunteered my time for that weekly until I graduated college. I worked for them for 2 years, unpaid, because I loved it, seeing my byline and learning and rewriting stories and stuff. College theory. I mean, and I mean, it was crazy.
I majored in English literature because I wanted to become a writer. And, I did. It took a lot of hard work, but I did, and I became a columnist and so on, and ended up on this show. If that's not success, I don't know what is.
Well, my wife always says that I can't balance a checkbook, but I disagree. I respectfully disagree with her and stuff, but I don't need a remedial class. And it's amazing. This remedial class in Harvard lasts for 1 year. So these kids have to give up 1 year of their entire education, relearning stuff that they should have mastered in their senior year in high school. Unbelievable. And but the biggest thing there, the biggest takeaway is, how can a test be considered racist one day and now it's not racist the next? So big change. But I didn't read this story in the Boston Globe. Okay,
no,
or the New York Times,
right.
But I read it on the Ricky Schlotz column in the New York Post. So it's amazing.
Well, these days you have to go shopping for accurate information.
Yeah,
You have to go to many venues to find out what is going on.
yeah.
And
So,
that is a sad commentary on the mass media.
so looking ahead, anything on your plate this week?
Well, I think the big thing is going to be these hearings into the status of Joe Biden's mental capacity when he was president. I think these hearings are going to be explosive in Washington and going to find out a lot what was going on or not going on when Joe Biden was president.
Yeah. So it'd be riveting to watch that, because now if you watch the congressional hearings, you don't have to buy any of these books that are coming out. Okay, you can save the money and just see it in real time. And the best thing, you should have a scorecard. Who's lying and who's telling the truth? Okay, and you can just follow along and make a little game of it and stuff, because it's going to be interesting. But prepare yourself. That I think some of these revelations that come out are really going to be damaging to the way government was run, and I'm not pointing fingers on at anybody, but it's a damn shame when you're an American citizen and you put your trust in people who you say are Americans and they would never do anything to harm the country. But some of these people did. They really did, okay, and they opened the door for very bad precedents, okay. When a man who is elected president and to make decisions can't do it, and then a shadow government is doing.
That's what we had. We had a shadow government.
It's tough to swallow. It really is. So, anything else on your plate?
Yeah, I'm going to pay my income tax and go play golf.
Oh, good. Well, I hope the weather turns out that we can play golf, because I've been chomping at the bit since I returned from Florida. So it'd be nice to get out there and see the sun in the sky and everything, and just watch the tariff negotiations begin.
Fantastic. It's fascinating. Fascinating.
So until our next show next week, this is the Boston Bros signing off. Have a good week, Peter.
Okay. Thank you, Jim.
Take care.